What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. So, I did a video yesterday about this conflicted narratives between Lue Elizondo and Chris Bledsoe. And I wanted to send out a message that we need more balance with these narratives that are currently going on. I stand by what I said because after looking at the News Nation interview, it is clear to me that they want us to be aware and on alert mode that this could potentially be a threat. There are some aspects that I do agree with Lue Elizondo, which is basically the military installations being swarmed by objects. That needs to be kept on check. And it seems like the government is ignoring that, which is extremely alarming. I didn't think that I was going to see someone like Lue Elizondo mentioning the nuclear facilities that are being swarmed on News Nation. That's something that needed to happen, and I'm so glad that it did because it needs more attention to it. Ever since Robert Hastings wrote UFOs and Nukes, people have been trying to sound the alarm for decades. Dr. Jacobs included, now Lue Elizondo. I know Jeremy Corbell has been talking about this for a while. George Knapp has been talking about this for a while. And it is great to see Lue talking about this because now that it's in this platform, the expectation is that it makes or it has a similar effect to what David Grush's interview on News Nation had last year, which brought upon the first ever UFO hearings from a whistleblower testifying under oath. And I hope that this interview has that effect. Where I don't agree is people who saw this interview and are not on the topic, I can guarantee you that got really scared. And I think that is going to eventually be counterproductive because I think that the other aspects of the phenomenon also need to be highlighted. And that is what I'm going to try to do here. I am going to address one of the aspects of the phenomenon that Lue also talked about, but it is a small portion of a massive interview he did with Ross Coulthart, which has to do with our brains. It has to do with the findings and the work that Dr. Gary Nolan has been doing inside the brain of people who are considered either experiencers or have close encounters with some of these objects. I have talked about this based on the book that Lue Elizondo wrote and the Cherokee blood that runs within his family. I talked about how Dr. Jacobo Greenberg studied shamans and this part of the brain, the Caudate Putamen. But Lue, and this is where I got really excited, he talked about this. He talked about the morphology of the brain, of this part of the brain, changing after being exposed to UAP, which is something new. I do believe that there are people who are more predisposed to experiencing phenomena who already have this part of the brain more developed. These people are the shamans that I was talking to you about. But Lue talks about how these experiences with UAP accelerate the growth of this part of the brain or the development of this part of the brain. And I think that's a positive thing because, yes, there were incidents where people were injured, such as Mr. John Burroughs, who I spoke to on Psicoactivo on a previous interview, link in the description. He had a negative experience. He's the only person from the military who has been paid by the government for getting injured by a UAP. Officially. He has the paperwork and everything. And he's going to release it in the fall. I'm going to drop a little clip made by my friend Toby Martinez at the Roswell Daily Record right here.
Our job was to investigate and report back on what we observed.
Back then, something happened to him that he's still dealing with.
In the aftermath, there's measurable medical changes to individuals' anatomy.
Do you have any personal knowledge of someone who's possibly been injured working on legacy UAP reverse engineering?
Yes. And people have been hurt by these things. You know, that's a fact. That's a fact. It's a knowable fact.
What we were not prepared for is what happened to us afterwards.
So be on the lookout for that. But this ties into the more positive aspect of interactions with the phenomenon. I didn't think I was going to hear a Pentagon official talking about this in such a public setting like News Nation. He spoke about remote viewing and Project Stargate. Ross pressed him about it. Check out this exchange right here.
But are UAPs abducting people at random, or are they drawn to certain individuals? Elizondo says research has revealed an intriguing pattern among UAP experiences in a fascinating part of the brain.
This is a part of the brain known as the Caudate Putamen, and it is a very specific part of the brain. It's responsible for all sorts of stuff, and some have even speculated precognition
But certainly intuition.
Intuition for sure.
Elizondo says the Caudate Putamen is larger in people with alleged psychic powers, what the government has called remote viewing. What about people who've had UAP experiences?
Very interesting. The same thing. And by the way, that's not me telling you. These are medical doctors and scientists.
Stanford immunologist Dr. Gary Nolan has been researching this topic, and while his conclusions are not definitive, there are two working theories. One, that people with naturally large Caudate Putamen might attract UAPs like an antenna. Another, that UAP encounters with normal people cause that same part of the brain to get bigger.
And there is a lot of information to substantiate that this is real morphology occurring in the human brain.
Elizondo argues that people with enhanced Caudate Putamen might have a talent both for remote viewing and communicating with UAPs. And that's important because it's an established fact that the Pentagon has had an interest in remote viewing for military purposes.
In the vernacular, they used to call it psychic espionage. There was a program in the U.S. government, it's called Stargate. They were taking young soldiers and civilians, and they were training them to conduct espionage behind enemy lines. And the term was called remote viewing. A lot of people that were in the remote viewing program had MRIs done of their brains, and a vast majority have that specific morphology. Do I think it's extraordinary? No, it may be a vestigial capability that humans had for a long time.
But does it work?
Oh, it absolutely works. It absolutely works.
You see, remote viewing has been discredited. The CIA determined that it doesn't work.
Okay, sure.
You're saying it does work?
It absolutely works.
Lue says he knows it works because he was trained in remote viewing himself.
I don't like to really publicly talk about it. My involvement was only tangential.
There's a story you tell of a terrorist suspect, and there was a remote viewing operation done that you were part of.
Yes, we did an experiment. Probably shouldn't have, but we did. And long story short, it appeared to be very effective.
So Ross talks about how the CIA and the government denies remote viewing is real. And Lue's reaction is very indicative of what a lot of people have been talking about for decades. There is, in fact, a large portion of the population that believes and they know that remote viewing is real. They practice it constantly. I know that there are multiple people on UFO Twitter who actively engage in remote viewing. There's a man called The Astral on Twitter. He works with Ross, actually, as a producer. He runs Twitter Spaces where he presents a target for remote viewing. There's a lot more people who dedicate time of their day to this. And I think that Lue knows also that this has something to it, and it is linked to the caudate putamen and to the basal ganglia. That is also another part of the brain that becomes hyperactive when people are engaging in stuff like remote viewing. But there are many more skills that us humans do have and have been documented in history. There are a lot of papers written by scientists that are trying to come up with hypotheses that explain these abilities. I have told you about Dr. Greenberg being closely surveilled by the CIA and by other agencies of his work that lasted decades. So this is a positive aspect of what Lue mentions on his interview. And I think that it is, for me, the most important, because I happen to think, and this is just my personal opinion, that unless we understand what we are capable of and how our consciousness is linked and related to the phenomenon, we are not going to understand what the phenomenon is. And the fact that this remote viewing and Stargate have been so demonized and stigmatized for decades does make me think that they have been hiding something on purpose. But the matter of fact is that they have spent millions of dollars over many years investigating this and psychic espionage and other aspects of psi abilities, let's call it. This word, psionic, that Ross talked about on that Reddit AMA a while ago, is going to become more important as we keep moving forward. And I want you guys to think about this, just to close out the video. Say we do have these skills or abilities. Say we do have a dormant kind of part of the brain that can be awakened by practices or rituals or exercises, and we suddenly start discovering these skills. Some of these skills have been talked about before: premonition, healing powers, alleged remote viewing, telepathy, telekinesis, all this stuff that seems very fantastical and from an X-Men cartoon or a comic book. This all has been studied before. It is real that it has been studied. The mainstream scientific community obviously doesn't acknowledge it at all because it is a fringe topic. But think about this. Say we did discover that we do have powers. How do you think the world's governments and the powers that be would react or would try to control this? What would happen if a large majority of people started either committing crimes or enacting vengeance upon people that they don't like with these powers? Don't you think that it would really get out of control? So it would make sense that they are trying to hide our own skills and abilities because they fear that the whole world would go out of control from these people that are really could potentially endanger others. So as we explore deeper into these abilities, we need to be mindful of the potential dangers that they could represent in the wrong hands. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's being kept from the majority of the public, and it's being kept in the same boat as the fringes topics you can imagine. But I happen to think that they don't have a right to prevent us from accessing this knowledge. I don't think they do. And that is one of the main reasons why I keep talking about it. Because I think people who could be interested in this should know the truth. So let me know what you guys think about this specific aspect of Lue's interview. What do you guys think about this reaction from Lue when he was told by Ross that remote viewing isn't real? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if you like the content you see, please like, share, comment, subscribe. And if you want to support the channel in any other way, I'm going to leave a few links in the description. You can either support my work through donations, or you can get yourself something, or you can get something for the channel and the wish list from Amazon that I created. Let me know what you think about this Caudate Putamen investigation and the fact that it has already been mentioned in such a public setting by Lue and by Ross. Let me know. And until the next video, I'll see you guys on Monday. Bye.